Emily Carter and Sheikh Khalid Al Mansoor, two lives from opposite worlds. One an American tourist chasing adventure, the other a powerful Dubai figure guarding his reputation. Their secret romance began with glittering yachts and whispered promises, but it ended in a blood-stained penthouse and an international scandal. What started as passion soon spiraled into obsession, betrayal, and ultimately murder. This is the shocking true crime story of how a forbidden affair turned deadly. In the glittering city of Dubai, Sheikh Khalid Al Mansoor stood as a figure of wealth, influence, and careful control. At 47, he carried the aura of someone who had everything: sprawling properties, fleets of luxury cars, and deep-rooted connections in politics and business. To the outside world, he was a man who lived within tradition, bound to family honor and cultural responsibility. Behind closed doors, however, his private life revealed a different story, one built on indulgence and secrecy. It was during one of his exclusive yacht gatherings, far from the eyes of curious onlookers, that he first noticed Emily Carter. She was a 28-year-old American tourist, drawn to Dubai by its promise of adventure and extravagance. To Khalid, she represented a rare escape from the rigid expectations of his life. She was young, vibrant, and unafraid to stand out, a stark contrast to the reserved world he inhabited. Their first meeting was casual, masked by champagne toasts and laughter echoing across the Arabian Gulf, yet a spark ignited that neither could ignore. The relationship grew in hidden corners of the city. Five-star hotels, secluded villas, and unlisted resorts became their secret playgrounds. Khalid showered Emily with designer jewelry, private jet trips, and envelopes of cash. Emily, intoxicated by the glamour, convinced herself she had found not only a lover but a protector. The sheik, meanwhile, felt a dangerous thrill in breaking his own rules, caught between his public image and private desires. What began as a glamorous romance built on passion and escape was already standing on fragile ground. Neither realized that their bond, born in secrecy and indulgence, carried the weight of consequences that would one day explode into betrayal, violence, and irreversible tragedy. The seeds of destruction had been planted from the very beginning. Several months into the affair, Emily Carter's life took an unexpected turn. What began as excitement and indulgence shifted dramatically the moment she discovered she was pregnant. At first, she saw the news as a blessing, a symbol of the love she believed tied her to Sheikh Khalid Al Mansoor. To her, it was proof that their relationship was more than stolen nights and whispered promises. She imagined him welcoming the news, perhaps even daring to reshape his carefully constructed life to make space for her and their unborn child. For Khalid, however, the news triggered panic. His reputation was everything. Years of influence, respect, and carefully guarded secrecy were suddenly at risk. A child outside his marriage could shatter not only his public image, but also the trust of his powerful family. To him, Emily's pregnancy was not a symbol of love, but a dangerous liability. His warmth toward her cooled rapidly. Expensive gifts became bribes to silence her. Their intimate conversations turned into tense negotiations. Where Emily sought acknowledgement and commitment, Khalid offered only money and demands for discretion. Emily refused to be dismissed. She had sacrificed her independence and reputation for the relationship, and she believed carrying his child gave her leverage. In her mind, she was not a disposable secret, but the mother of his future heir. The more Khalid tried to distance himself, the more determined she became to hold him accountable. What followed was a shift in power neither fully recognized at the time. The pregnancy created an invisible battlefield between them. Every interaction carried the weight of hidden agendas, resentment, and fear. What had once seemed like a passionate escape was now a ticking clock counting down to a confrontation that neither could avoid. As Emily's pregnancy progressed, the fragile foundation of her relationship with Sheikh Khalid began to crumble. What had once been private indulgence now carried undeniable consequences. Khalid grew increasingly anxious, fearing exposure in a society where reputation and family honor were paramount. His solution was simple: offer Emily money, luxury, and a quiet exit. He proposed that she leave Dubai permanently, erasing herself from his life before the situation escalated. To him, it was the cleanest resolution. To her, it was an insult. Emily refused to vanish. She had invested herself in the promise of their relationship and now believed she held undeniable proof of their bond. She demanded recognition, insisting he face the truth rather than bury it. The refusal sparked a growing hostility between them. Arguments became routine, erupting during secret meetings in luxury hotels and private villas. The intimacy that once bound them had been replaced by threats, ultimatums, and cold silences. Khalid's world began to shrink under the weight of suspicion. His closest associates whispered about his erratic behavior, noticing his late-night disappearances and unexplained absences. Surveillance footage captured him entering secluded apartments, feeding rumors of an affair he could no longer control. Emily, sensing her position weakening, began to document everything: bank transfers, text exchanges, and voice messages. She quietly built a record she believed could protect her if he attempted to cast her aside. The secrecy that had once fueled their excitement now poisoned every interaction. Both became convinced the other was preparing a betrayal. Khalid feared blackmail and scandal, while Emily feared abandonment and loss. Each step forward only deepened the tension, weaving them into a dangerous cycle of mistrust. By this stage, the affair had transformed into a war of survival, with no clear path back to what they once had. On a sweltering summer night in 2022, Sheikh Khalid arranged to meet Emily at a luxury penthouse apartment overlooking Dubai's glittering skyline. To outsiders, it was just another evening of indulgence, but within those walls, tension had been building for weeks. Khalid had grown desperate to end the situation quietly, while Emily felt cornered and betrayed. She arrived carrying not only the weight of her pregnancy, but also the rage of being silenced and discarded. The atmosphere inside the penthouse was charged long before the confrontation began. Neighbors later recalled hearing thuds, the sharp crack of glass shattering, and what sounded like furniture being overturned. Investigators would eventually piece together a chaotic struggle. A half-empty wine glass was discovered with traces of sedatives, suggesting that Emily may have attempted to weaken Khalid, though he never consumed enough to be subdued. Instead, the conflict escalated into a physical fight that spiraled out of control. Broken bottles, torn fabric, and scattered valuables painted a picture of desperation and fury. The final moments of Khalid's life were violent and sudden. In the midst of the struggle, Emily grabbed a heavy decorative object, an ornate sculpture that had once been a symbol of wealth and refinement. With a single strike, she inflicted the fatal head injury that ended his life. The silence that followed was stark, broken only by the hum of the air conditioning and the faint sounds of the city below. Realizing the gravity of what she had done, Emily attempted to cover her tracks. She wiped surfaces, gathered cash and jewelry, and tried to construct a hurried escape plan. But the scene remained littered with evidence, and every attempt to erase her presence only left more clues behind. In that moment, the glamour of their secret affair collapsed entirely into a nightmare. The morning after the violent confrontation, the penthouse staff grew concerned when Sheikh Khalid failed to respond to calls. Security guards entered the apartment and were met with a disturbing sight. Shards of broken glass glistened on the floor, furniture was overturned, and the Sheikh's lifeless body lay in the living room. The discovery shocked even those accustomed to luxury and excess. Within hours, Dubai police launched a full-scale investigation, sealing off the scene and combing through every detail. Forensic experts quickly identified evidence that told a grim story. Fingerprints belonging to Emily Carter were found on the weapon, on glassware, and on door handles. Traces of blood were smeared across her clothing, discarded in a corner of the room. Security cameras captured her entering the building late at night and leaving hastily just hours before Khalid's body was discovered. Alongside the physical evidence, investigators uncovered the presence of sedatives in Khalid's system, though not in sufficient quantity to cause unconsciousness. The details painted a picture of both planning and panic. Meanwhile, Emily attempted to flee the country. She was intercepted at Dubai International Airport, her luggage filled with bundles of cash, expensive jewelry, and falsified documents. The items suggested not only an intent to escape, but also preparation long before that night. When questioned, she insisted that she had acted in self-defense, claiming Khalid had turned violent after an argument about her pregnancy. Her story, however, clashed with the growing pile of evidence pointing toward a calculated act of desperation. The case quickly drew international attention. Media outlets broadcasted images of the Sheikh's body being removed under heavy security, while reports of Emily's arrest fueled speculation. What had begun as a hidden affair had now erupted into a scandal that crossed borders and captivated global audiences. Emily's trial became one of the most closely followed cases in recent memory, drawing reporters from across the Middle East, Europe, and the United States. Every detail of her relationship with Sheikh Khalid Al Mansoor was dissected in court, from the expensive gifts to the bitter arguments leading up to his death. Prosecutors portrayed her as a manipulative outsider who saw pregnancy as a weapon, accusing her of plotting to trap a wealthy man and, when rejected, resorting to violence. They emphasized the evidence of sedatives, the cash-filled luggage, and the hastily arranged false documents as proof of premeditation. Her defense, however, told a different story. Lawyers argued that Emily was a young woman swept into a world of power far beyond her control, manipulated and abandoned when she needed support the most. They claimed she acted in fear for her life on the night of Khalid's death, cornered by a man determined to silence her. Witnesses were called, medical records of her pregnancy were displayed, and her tearful testimony added emotional weight. The courtroom became a stage of clashing narratives, with each side presenting a version of the truth that painted the other as the villain. After weeks of testimony, the court delivered its verdict. Emily was found guilty of manslaughter rather than premeditated murder, a decision that reflected the complex nature of the case. She received a 25-year prison sentence, her dreams of luxury and freedom reduced to years behind bars. Khalid's family, determined to preserve their honor, moved swiftly to bury the scandal, ensuring that his name remained untarnished in official accounts. Yet outside those guarded walls, the story could not be contained. It lived on in headlines, documentaries, and hushed conversations, a haunting reminder of how secrecy, betrayal, and desperation can destroy even the most powerful lives.